Gather around, friends. It's time to preview the 2025 season the only way the Godcast knows how. Welcome to the show. It is the Selby is Godcast. I'm TJ. That's Zach. Just get out of the way. I know you want to boast and talk about how great you are at this event. Do it. I'll give you your floor. You've earned it.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm giddy today. I feel like the Dodgers. I feel like, I don't know, who was it? Was it Bruno Sammartino who held the WWF title for 3,000 days? It's like Christmas. I'm going for a 5-peat. You've never beaten me at this exercise.
No matter what wrestler you want to point to, even if you go even more recent, Roman Reigns, they still lost the title at some point. They don't still hold it today. So I'm coming for you. Although I'm not confident it'll be today. But someday, one of these years, I'm confident I'm going to take you down. If you're unfamiliar with this exercise, and again, welcome to the Selby is Godcast, what we do to preview the year, we can talk about each individual player, but we don't want to do that. We want to put something on the line here, and this, it's usually just been my ego that's been battered. We are going to draft players from the Cleveland Guardians, and we're not doing it to build a team necessarily. We're doing it to try to accumulate the most Fangraphs WAR by the end of the season. We ask this question why Fangraphs WAR? It's the one we settled on. We could use any of these wars, but Zach, it is important to note that it's Fangraphs WAR because there's a different formula for every war that gets created, whether it's Baseball Reference or anywhere you look that has any sort of player value. There's a formula for how they get there, and you have to know the ins and outs of the formula, right? So a player that doesn't strike out a lot or a pitcher that doesn't strike out a lot of batters, maybe they accumulate a lot of run prevention, but their FIP doesn't look good. That is something you have to keep in the back of your mind when you're drafting this team, because it's not just about run prevention and ERA. It might be avoiding walks, avoiding home runs, getting those strikeouts, things that are very important for the formula that we operate within. So that's part of the reasoning behind maybe some of the players we take, that if we use the different formula, perhaps Emmanuel Clase would want to be one of the first picks taken.
That's a long explanation, man. I think you're overthinking this already.
Well, you have to remember there are people that have never been part of this before. I want to welcome them in just as much as the people that have been here for several years.
No, but see, my strategy when I've won each of the last 4 years, it's simple. Draft the best players.
Oh, is that what it is? Is that what it is? Okay. Let's get this out of the way. This is what people came for. Let's determine who gets the number 1 overall pick, and we do that, Zach, by...
I have a proposal for you. We always play rock, paper, scissors to determine who gets the number 1 pick, and there have been years where you complain that because I had the number 1 pick, I got Jose Ramirez, I ended up winning. I don't want any of that. And I know it always takes us a long time to play rock, paper, scissors. You never know. Are we supposed to go on 3? Are we supposed to go on go?
Me? I never
We're
know.
on video, but the
rules
hand
have never
motions.
changed.
I know you're never sure if there's a lag here and is my hotel Wi-Fi okay?
Why is this on me? You ask every year if there's more than 3 options. On what planet are there more than 3 options?
I was going to, out of the goodness of my heart, being the good Samaritan I am, a person known to have a great heart and a thoughtful mind, a good friend.
Did someone write this on a Starbucks cup for you?
I was just going to offer you the first pick. You can just go first. You've never won at this. Why don't you try this year?
I don't know if I like this, because then I feel like you're going to have a built-in excuse. If this is the year that I take you down, you'll say, no. Yeah, but I was charitable. I gave you the top pick. And if anybody has watched this in years previously, it doesn't always matter that you get the top pick, because the years that I've taken Jose, I feel like he hasn't had a great year. In the years that I've ended up, okay, I'll take Shane Bieber, and then he was hurt, off the map. All right, I will take the number 1 overall pick. That's fine. I'll take it. I'm not going to argue with you. This is an easy exercise. There's nobody in competition with Jose Ramirez. You're making that face, but yet there's nobody in competition with Jose Ramirez. He is the safest pick. Yes, we all believe that regression is coming for him, but I'm just going to believe it's not going to be this year because the man just keeps avoiding it. And I'm not even talking about just being like, oh, look, Jose Ramirez is bad now. We all would have expected maybe by now he would look a little bit more mortal. He'd be coming back to the pack of, okay, he's not a top 10 player in the league anymore. He's not the best third baseman in baseball anymore, but he's still comfortably an all-star. He's a good player. No, every year he continues to show up, and he's a perennial MVP candidate and the best third baseman in the game. So I'm not going to delay any further. Give me Jose Ramirez with the top pick. It's the most obvious pick. You're up next with maybe the most interesting pick in this draft.
Yeah, it's easy for me. I'm going to go Steven Kwan. He had 4.1 WAR last season, and he missed 40 games. So there's injury risk here, but who doesn't have injury risk? And I don't think it is outside the realm of possibility that this guy has a 5-6 win season. We know he can hit for average. We know he can steal bases. He's never not won a Gold Glove award. And if there's something to the power swing, which I have no reason to believe that mindset isn't still going to be with him, I think this is such a well-rounded player who I truly believe is going to challenge Jose Ramirez for the team lead in WAR.
Was there any thought going out elsewhere here? How difficult was this decision?
It wasn't at all. And part of the reason why I was fine giving you the first pick, in addition to holding it over your head all season, is I really think this is going to be close.
I knew it.
I don't want to say Jose Ramirez is going to decline, because if I would have said that a year ago, I would have looked really silly. But is he going to be 6.5 wins again? Does he come back down to earth a little bit and maybe he's 5.5? Kwan could be right there with him. There's risk here. Tons of risk. I mean, Kwan, 3 years, 2 of them have been really good. 1 of them was not so good. Maybe this is a not so good year. Maybe pitchers do figure him out again. Maybe he gets injured and the hamstrings are bothering him. There's risk. I just love the upside.
I was really hoping you weren't going to do this, because I know what this is going to lead to, and it's going to make me very upset. But this, and I would have went the same way as you, by the way. I had Kwan second on my board here, so I don't think that's a crazy decision. This is where it got really hard for me, just to separate 3 and 4. So I think we're on the same page here. They're both pitchers, right? And they're both, I think, one just got an extension. What, one's not a pitcher? Okay, whatever. This is my thought process. One just got an extension, and the other one may be vying for just as good and maybe just as much value as the pitcher that got the extension. Of course, I'm talking about Bybee and Williams. I hate this, because I think I know what this is going to lead to, but how do I go away from the guy that was the ace of the staff that would just earn the extension? If there were some like odds at play here, and you would get some reward for taking a longer shot on the odds here, maybe you'd gamble on a Williams, but I need some safety here at the top of my draft. I need to at least know that I'm getting the WAR, and I feel like as much as pitching is not safe really at any moment, you're good until you're not, and I'm talking about just the health of your arm, I think I have to go with the safety here of the guy that's the ace of this staff, Tanner Bybee. Am I crazy? Am I crazy here for wanting to just take the safety over maybe a little bit more ceiling from a Gavin Williams?
No, I had Bybee third on my board. I think that's the right pick. He's shown he's durable. He's shown he wants to pitch deep into games. I think that's a priority for him this season. And also he's gained the trust of his manager and his catchers, where you let that guy go the third time through the order. You let him go pitch into the 7th, 8th inning. So, no, I think that's the right pick. Do you need me to just draft your team for you here? I mean,
I'm just waiting. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt when I hear the words leave your lips.
Well, I wasn't going to go with him, but now I will. I'll go Gavin Williams. I think the upside here is just tantalizing. I mean, you think about, no, he hasn't necessarily proven that in the regular season that he can be that guy. So there are hurdles to clear, but the ceiling you dream about. The ceiling is 190 innings and 200 strikeouts and just a machine. So he passed every test all spring. Looked incredible. And also was like kind of efficient too toward the end, which is nice because I think you could see in him maybe being that guy who goes like 5 1/3 and he's got 9 strikeouts, but it took him 101 pitches to do that. I'm dreaming of 7 innings, 98 pitches, 11 strikeouts.
Yeah.
1 run on 4 hits.
I don't like that I have to root against him now. This is not the scenario I wanted to be. I didn't want to root against Bybee or Williams.
This is where it gets fun, though. This is where it's, all right, here are all the position players. Some of them might break out. Some of them might not. Could have -0.5 WAR. Could have 3.5 WAR.
Yeah, I was, for as difficult deciding between Bybee and Williams was, I felt good about the choice. Whoever I was going to get, I felt like I was going to come away with a lot of WAR. Here's where, again, things, I don't know. You're separating guys that can maybe reach 3 wins, 3.5 wins from guys that maybe only top out at 2.5. And maybe that's the difference in this draft. I also feel like one of the more important things is you just got to get guys that stay on the field. And you take into account who because of the position they play or just the skills that they bring is going to consistently be out there every single day. As opposed to later in the draft, we're going to be deciding between lefty-righty splits and who's going to eke out a little bit more win doing the job that they do. So I decided I'm going to go with the guy that's going to be the center fielder for this team. I'm going to hope that the power and speed combo is going to be there. I hope just because how much they need him to be in there and because of the position he plays. And they traded Tyler Freeman away, a guy that maybe could have stolen some center field at-bats away from him. He's going to be the guy that's going to be out there most often. And I think this could be a fun year. It's obviously a big year for him in terms of a contract year. He wants to earn it. And I think there's an opportunity here for him just soak up the WAR. And
are you going to say his name?
It's Lane Thomas. I think everyone knows who the center fielder is.
My God. Well, there might be some people who don't follow the Guardians that closely.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I'll take Lane Thomas.
It's like the biggest introduction. That's a good pick.
I'm just explaining my way through it.
I actually wanted to pick him ahead of Gavin Williams, but I didn't want you to have Bybee and Williams. I think he's going to have a big year. All right, I'll go. Here's a little history lesson. Do you know what Bo Naylor's WAR total was last season?
It was like 2.3 or something like that.
It was 1.6.
Oh, okay.
But I would guess that people listening probably were saying, oh, it was probably like -5. Or more realistically, like 0.3. Because he was a complete zero offensively. But when you're a solid defensive catcher, that helps your total. In fact, the year before, when he really only played half the season, if that, not even, he was 2.1. So that tells you what he could be if he can hit a little bit. And I'm hoping he hits a little bit. So give me Bo Naylor, and maybe he plays his way into a 3-win season.
Interesting. I had this similar thought. He's catching. We know he's going to do it a lot, so he's probably going to be in there just getting the value of being a good defender and playing a lot. And so even if he brings anything offensively, he's going to shoot up that WAR board fast. In the end, I opted to bump him back a little bit, but I was having a similar thought about the next man on my list. Give me Brian Rocchio.
No.
I think I'm aboard the Brian Rocchio train, even if just 1 foot off and the other one's hanging off the back of that train, desperately holding on for dear life.
That's not safe.
It's definitely not, and I don't know if taking him with my 4th pick is safe either. But I mean, they bet on him. Here's the shortstop. You traded Andres Gimenez away. There's going to be some movement on the second base side. The shortstop of this club, they told you with their actions, was Brian Rocchio. Of course, we saw him have a good postseason, and then he carried that into the spring. For whatever it's worth, I think it's at least worth something for him in confidence that he just continued. Like, that wasn't a fluke. Came back in spring training, continued to hit the ball pretty well. I'm on record of saying I think the power is going to increase some. What was my hot take? I said it was 15 years. You said that's not a hot take, so we elevated it to 20. I don't know if he's getting there. But I think you're going to see that power increase. So if I'm aboard the Brian Rocchio Express, at least with 1 foot, I think I got to pick him with my 4th pick here.
Kind of regretting giving you the first pick because this has played out exactly how I had it. I think those are the very clear top 7. And I like you want to trade? I like your 4 guys better than, I think there's a big gap the rest of the way to the rest of the guys. And it's insane who I'm going to pick here with the 8th pick because this guy wasn't on the team 5 days ago. But I think about Nolan Jones' skill set.
Wow.
Understanding that the best case scenario here is about 400 plate appearances. I get that. I also know he had 400 plate appearances in 2023, and he had 3.8 WAR. And then last year, negative 0.8. But he's going to be limited to right-handers. So you would think the offensive stats should be there. Guy can hit for power. If he's healthy, he can steal bases. Defensively, he should be a plus. That arm is the best in baseball. So just stay healthy, man, and be comfortable back in your familiar surroundings. And I don't know. This is a little bit of a risk here, but it's crazy to think a guy who just joined the team can be picked this highly.
But I'm so excited.
I wouldn't have had Tyler Freeman at 8th.
No. And I'm so excited by him being here because I think he brings more ceiling at a fun spot than even Tyler Freeman did, what he was going to do. And even the best of Tyler Freeman is a guy that may hit for a higher average but brings no power. And I think the other side of this for Nolan Jones is he's bad. He's nothing. Whereas Tyler Freeman maybe just through his versatility brings you value. But what did this team need? Somebody to hit 6th for this, maybe even higher. Hit 6th, bring more power. That was not going to be Will Brennan. I think this lineup looks a lot more fun with Nolan Jones in it. It's a fun project. I know that there was talk, well, the Rockies they feel like he's lost some confidence. I know that the spring numbers didn't look good, but below the surface, I think there was still some good process that was happening. I don't know, we're 1 year removed from 2020 from a guy that didn't even play every single day. And I know it was Colorado. I know the numbers were slightly overinflated, but that power was realistic. Like, he earned the home runs that he hit, and if he's on base, he's going to steal some bags.
And he's going to walk at a high rate. So there's a floor there. And you know how to regain your confidence? That team and that old hitting coach who's now the main hitting coach, wait, they really want me back? Oh, they must believe in me. Okay, I am confident now. Done.
I'm going to take Cade Smith with my next pick. And he's not the closer, obviously, but we talked about this earlier. Fangraphs WAR rewards people that get that swing and miss, get that strikeout total. And Clase doesn't in the way that Cade Smith does. Now, I do have some concerns about his usage last year, and does he see any decline in stuff? But he was so great, even a slight decline in stuff, he's still going to be pretty phenomenal. I'm not expecting a similar year. I think it would be unfair to just say, hey, Cade, just go do that again. How many relievers actually do that? Like, you have to be a unicorn to be able to accomplish that every year. But in saying that, I have all the confidence in the world that this man's going to be in there in that 7th, 8th inning, cleaning up the messes that no one wants to deal with and getting a lot of strikeouts. And because he's doing that, he's going to be piling up the WAR out of the bullpen. The best guy to do it out of the pen to get me that WAR. Give me Cade Smith.
That's who I had next as well. All right. Here we go.
Oh, God. What are we doing? You're stretching before the pick?
Shane Bieber. I just look at the other names on this list, and I think there's a ceiling here. And I think if Shane Bieber can give them 15 starts, 12, 20, no. If he can give them double-digit starts, that could be worth 1.5, 2 wins if he's really good. I mean, what did Matthew Boyd give them last season? He joined the team at the end of June, but didn't pitch until I think early August, like the second week of August, and he gave them almost a full win. So I think Bieber will return earlier than Boyd did. And if he's anywhere close to as good as Boyd was, which track record would say he should be, I think this is the right pick here.
I think it's the right pick too, because I had him next on my board. But in listening to that, I cannot wait for you to end your discussion so I can sprint to the podium and take Kyle Manzardo. And I'm at least nervous because this man is going to be a DH. And DHs, it's tough. You got to be really good offensively. There's also questions for me. How much is he going to play against lefties, at least initially? And if he is playing against lefties, does that cut into the numbers a little bit?
Yeah, you took a platoon DH, man.
This is a man that you love. You can position it so that you can sleep at night however you want. But I know deep down you're seething. You cannot.
I just think he's going to mash.
You cannot stand the fact. And I think Manzardo is going to become more than just a platoon DH. And Carlos Santana, by the way, is like 1,000 years old. Even as much as I love Carlos, and I'm hopeful, I've got my doubts, I'm hopeful that he's going to be able to just be a good, still steady player at the age of 39. Manzardo's got to play some first base, too. You cannot expect Santana to play 162 over there. Not fair. So we'll see as the year goes on, but I'm confident in this man's hitting ability, and in knowing that, he's going to be in the lineup, no matter how he does it.
Yeah, I'm torn between a few here. I'll go Emmanuel Clase. He's still the closer. He still had one of the highest WAR totals among relievers last season. And look, I get the Cade Smith love affair. The guy's awesome. But Emmanuel Clase had one of the best relief seasons of all time last year. And guess what? Whatever he does in October doesn't affect this little competition. So I think he looked a little slimmer, maybe a little leaner this spring. Didn't pitch great, particularly, but
I don't care about that.
It's just a little warm up. Doesn't matter. The lights will be bright. He'll feel the adrenaline again. And I think he's going to be on a mission to prove that October was a fluke. And the 0.61 ERA he posted during the regular season is the real him.
I think there's a lot of mental copium that we do when a guy doesn't have great maybe stuff or velocity in spring training. Oh, well, it didn't really mean anything. He's just working on stuff. And it's how we deal with maybe the deep down, the fears that we have. Haven't we seen Clase enough at the beginning of a season, like ease his way in and that velocity returns? And then when he gets even more ticked off.
Oh, no, he was only throwing 98 against A-ball hitters on February 28th.
We have evidence of when he gets mad, that's when he goes and gets that 102 that he wants. Yes, he has many questions to answer for what happened in October, but I don't care. As long as he's fine at the end of spring training, which all indications are he is, we're fine here, too. And I'm glad that I was able to throw you off my scent here because my next pick is now Carlos Santana. After I said all those negative things about him. Largely because I think he is going to bring good defense, and they signed him to play a lot. This is, as we get closer to the end of this list, we are talking about guys that are going to be more platoon bats. Santana's going to be in there. And because of the defensive value, I think there's a floor there of the value he's going to bring. And he still has a good eye. He's still going to get on base. He's still going to be around a league average bat at worst. And so I think it's an easy pick here for my 7th pick to be Santana.
All right, the only guy we're missing in my top 14 are we at? I don't love this pick. It's Luis Ortiz, who I just feel like is going to make everything look difficult this year. Like there's going to be a lot of laboring. There's going to be a lot of things that don't add up to a nice shiny WAR total. But as a starting pitcher who should get just a ton of work, I feel like he's the right pick. And maybe spring training was a complete mirage. Maybe he was just working on stuff all spring, and the calendar flips to April and just suddenly it's 6 innings on 74 pitches and makes it look like a breeze. But I don't think that's going to be the case. But nevertheless, that's my guy. And we're so happy to take him. He was atop our big board. There's no one we wanted more.
God, I'm so happy. I'm so happy because a lot of these picks were the next guy that were on my board. But many of them that you've taken are the ones that I didn't want. I don't know that I wanted Ortiz, even though he was next. Logically, it's how I drew it up. This will be the first pick that I'm really unsure about, though, my next one. I mean, we didn't even know he was going to be on the roster a few days ago. We thought maybe he'd be heading to AAA just to maintain their pitching depth, but I'm going to take Logan Allen. I mean, how quickly we forget the guy had a 3.8 ERA in 2023 in 125 and a third innings. I mean, that's not 10 at the end of the season. We were counting on him to be a, if nothing else, back-end starter with maybe hope that he could be a mid-rotation guy. And we gave him all sorts of credit in his rookie year because he just looked the part. And then last year he totally did not. I think confidence probably played a big factor too. Maybe the stuff wasn't as good. But I'm going to believe that we weren't all so wrong about him just 1 year ago that he's not capable of being at least a major league starter every 5 days. And that has value for this club. And yes, we can make a case that Ben Lively pitched better last year, and Logan Allen is the guy that just 2 years ago we all thought was just at least capable of staying in that rotation. Give me Logan.
So you mentioned Ben Lively. He would be the logical pick here, I think, just based on looking for guys who are going to get consistent reps. But if we agree his season last season was his peak, it would be hard to replicate that. He was worth 0.8 WAR. So I'm running the other way. And then I'm looking at my list. And it's a lot of relievers. It's a lot of guys who are like part-time, platoon, not even on the team yet. And I'm trying to forecast, think ahead. You know, I always say no one had on their bingo card John Kensey Noel being responsible for one of the most memorable home runs in team history. No one had David Fry slugging 2 key home runs to keep their season alive. No one had Daniel Schneemann starting in right field in the playoffs. So who could be that this year? Who could play a big role on this team that isn't even on the team yet? Give me Juan Brito.
Wow, okay. Was curious where he would go.
I think he moved up my board a little bit when Freeman got traded. I think, you know, there's some Angel Martinez questions on where he fits, when he fits. But I believe Brito is one guy who could, like when they call him up, they're going to want him to play. You know, Martinez can bounce around. He can play center. He can play a bunch of infield spots. And we saw last year, like, he'd be up sometimes and wouldn't play every day. I don't think Brito's that guy. I think when Brito's up, he's playing. And I think if Nolan Jones is having a nice season, they have to play Brito every day because it's like, we traded you for that guy, so we proved we like that guy more than you. And now we got you back, so we have to like Brito even more than that. So here's hoping he comes up at some point, wrestles second base away from Gabe Arias, and the rest is history until someone else takes over.
Who could that be? You're not picking him in this draft, are you? Oh, I guess we'll wait and see. I know a certain media member that would be very upset about that. Let's look at our Elite 8 so far. I've got Jose, Tanner Bybee, Lane Thomas, Brian Rocchio, Cade Smith, Kyle Manzardo, Carlos Santana, Logan Allen. You have
a worse team. Stephen Kwan, Bo Naylor, Gavin Williams, Nolan Jones, Emmanuel Clase, Luis Ortiz, Shane Bieber, and Juan Brito. So what do we have, 5 picks left each?
Yeah. Just doing the math real quick. This is where I think we have to do a run on pitching, and it's like deciding between who can get over a win here in the role that they have. I'm going to take Tim Herron. I've been out there saying I think this is going to be a big year for him. I'm a big believer in Tim Herron. I don't know that I have anything else to offer about that. I think it's risky taking a reliever because there's always limited upside in WAR. But give me Tim.
See, I don't know about that. Part of me wants... Well, yeah, none of these names are all that appealing. For this exercise, these are guys who could have nice years. But I'm torn between a couple here. This was the part of my big board where I'm like, try to avoid everybody down here if you can, knowing that would be impossible. Give me Gabriel Arias. I'm going to hedge the Burrito bet. In Arias' 3 seasons, it's negative 0.2, 0.5, and negative 0.2. So the ceiling isn't exactly high here. But if he fends, it's a win-win for me. If he fends off Juan Brito, he must be doing something right? So it's just a hedge.
Sure. It's take the running back and then take his running back partner later in the draft, right? That's what that
handcuff.
Is. Yep. Hopefully there won't be any handcuffs on Arias this year. And in saying all of that, I think he's still an interesting player. I had him last of all the players I had on a board. I had him last in that he had to get picked, at least I felt like, but I didn't want to be the guy to take him just because there's a good chance here that he no longer has the job by the end of May, maybe even sooner than that. But we'll see. Still think there's some fun underlying skills there, but always a question of whether you can get to him in an actual game. But I'm excited because you left me this man. I'm going to take Joey Cantillo. This is a guy that, yes, starts in the bullpen, but I could easily see him sliding in to take a starting spot at some point this year. Whether it's through the major league team, just ramping him up appearance by appearance, or he's got to build himself up elsewhere. I think Cantillo is a fun candidate to have in this exercise because I think he can get strikeouts because he's got that changeup. It'll be fun to see what they do with him this year. The reason why I didn't take him, even though I think it might be a good year for him, but I didn't take him as early as maybe I could have, is just because I don't know how they're going to get there. But I think he's a fun guy to have on my team.
You're drafting the team I wanted to draft. All right. How quickly we forget. This guy just a couple of years ago, he had 3.4 WAR. A couple things have happened since then, but who cares? Tristan McKenzie. Look, this is very possibly going to blow up in my face here, but at this point, I'm looking for upside. I'm looking for the dark horse, the home run pick, the long shot. I don't know what I'm saying. There's
you don't want to be looking for home runs when you're drafting a pitcher.
There's a remote possibility that it just clicks and he finds it and he goes the Carlos Carrasco route and everything. The rest is history. Is that going to happen? Wouldn't bet on it. Don't, like you said with Cantillo, don't know how he gets to that point.
God,
that would take a while. Carlos Carrasco spent 3.5 months in the bullpen, and at the end of the year, he had 10 starts left to make, and it went really well. But yeah, I don't know. Give me McKenzie, I guess.
Excuse me, could you tell us about your 4th round draft pick, sir? I don't know. It's a 4th round. What do you want from me? We're just looking for upside. I don't know about this guy. Whatever. We just took him.
What did the Browns say when they took Cody Kessler? Just trust me.
All right. Still waiting on that. I didn't think I was going to get both of these guys. but even though he's a couple picks down on my big board, I'm going to take him here too. And it's for the same reason. Like, this is you with what you were doing with Arias and Brito. I'm going to do the same thing with Jacob Junis. I think Junis and Cantillo are kind of occupying the same role initially, where they could soak up multiple innings, obviously doing it from different sides and different ways of getting about doing it. But I'm interested to see when they sign a guy like that, you don't just stick him in the 7th inning and say, we're good, that's our 7th inning guy. I think you bring him in because he's an interesting swing arm. He can occupy the 3rd, 4th, and 5th inning if you want. He could occupy later in the game. That's probably not where you want him if you have your aces lined up in the bullpen, but he can do it. He could start if you want him to. I just think he's a fun peg that fits anywhere. He's like your get-out-of-jail-free card in a lot of ways for that bullpen. So I'll be interested to see how they use him. But give me Jacob Junis.
So I understand, of the 4 relievers who had a sub-2 ERA last season that Cleveland just leaned on until they fell over in the ALCS, Hunter Gaddis is the one that nobody expects to replicate what he did. Maybe it's because he doesn't have a flashy strikeout rate. Maybe it's because he was a failed starter and the other guys were just relievers who did a good job relieving. I don't know what it is. And I don't think he's going to post another 150 ERA, but he was worth 1.6 wins last season. And even if he takes a step back, I mean, who's to say that the strikeout rate doesn't increase this year? So I'm going to take Hunter Gaddis just from the standpoint of, like, no reason why he can't put up 1 win in this late in the draft. I think that's the right pick.
Yeah, we're just looking for who can be a positive. The one thing as I total this up at the end of every year, the one thing is just the killer when you look at -1 point something from Tristan McKenzie or somebody. It's just like, oh my God, that was my 5th pick and he took away that much value. Oh my God. So you're just looking for guys that aren't going to be negative. It's like in fantasy football and you just don't start a kicker. I already won. Is there any rules I have to start the kicker? Because you don't want to take away value. Just because I had this run on pitching, and now that we're at the end of the draft, I could take like a safe 0.5 from somebody, or give me somebody that maybe booms from more. And at the end of the draft, I don't know how many there are going to be, so give me John Kensey Noel. I know now that Nolan Jones is in the fold. He's probably the guy that has lost some at-bats the most just by this acquisition. Well, Will Brennan has, but I mean just in terms of Noel's ability to slide in and steal some at-bats.
At some point, I crossed him off on my list. I completely forgot. I don't know why. I must have crossed him off instead of somebody else. I would have taken him like 3 picks ago. Continue.
No, that's the best sell job I could have, I guess, that you forgot to take him, and I am now going to get him. But, I mean, if this had happened a week and a half ago, I think Noel would have been like a 7th or 8th pick for either of us. But now, because Nolan Jones is here, I mean, that has cut into where Noel can slide in and take some at-bats away from somebody.
I guess give me Ben Lively. I made the case against him a few minutes ago. But forget all that. I was just throwing you off the scent. We're so excited to welcome Ben to our organization. He's a hard worker. He's got great command, and he has great will to win. And I don't know. It's weird. I feel like no one's talked about him. And I feel like if he flounders in the rotation, like it's pretty simple to just swap him with Junis or Cantillo or McKenzie or whoever else. So he's going to be a part of this pitching staff, and I don't know. I guess I'm just banking on last year being who he is now at the age of 33.
I've got 3 names left on my list. 3 names. 1 spot. Who to take. I don't want to give you the reasoning behind it because maybe one of these guys could be your final pick. So let me at least tell you who the pick is, and then we'll get your last pick, and then we can walk through the reasoning on all of it. I'll take Daniel Schneemann. Daniel Schneemann. Give me your last pick.
So this is different though, because this is like I could really reach here because I know that you can't take any of the other safer bets. So Bazana pops into my mind. Maybe he comes in August and just looks like a machine and puts up 1.5 wins and has everybody giddy for next season. I'm not going to do that. Angel Martinez, can he just get enough run to make it worth a pick? Chase DeLauder, can he get healthy and come up? Well, Nolan Jones is kind of blocking him now. Slade Ciccone, can he get healthy and work his way into the mix? I don't know. Will Brennan, he's right there, but he probably hates them. Or at least hates Nolan Jones. Andrew Walters, I think, has such good stuff and can be it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world if he's pitching the 8th inning in September. But again, when's he going to be up? How long is it going to take to get there? How much is he going to pitch? And what's the best case scenario there? Half a win? David Fry can only DH this season. I think that just crushes his value for this exercise. I don't think John Means is going to pitch quite enough. Doug Nikhazy is on there, because he could be one of the first guys up from AAA. But again, how much is he going to pitch? Is he going to be good enough? Nick Enright and Franco Alaman, their stuff too. But again, the reliever ceiling, are you going to pitch enough? Vince Velasquez, Parker Messick. I'll take Angel Martinez. I think it's the safest bet. I think your team on paper is better than mine, and I need those guys at the end to give me half a win while you get negatives from a couple people who I won't say. That's the only way I win this. So I'll go Angel Martinez. Again, I guess just give me all the middle infielders who they've been stockpiling for years and are trying to get rid of. Hopefully someone booms.
Yeah, I mean, the other names I had, you mentioned David Fry. I thought about Paul Sewald too. But is he going to get a ton of value in that bullpen? Just being more of the backup closer, 6th, 7th, 8th inning guy. I don't know. Schneemann is the one where instead of, this is the opposite of chasing upside. I think all the movement that may happen on the bench, and maybe he becomes a casualty just because they have too many good guys, but just because the way they've set this up now, they need somebody that can play everywhere, that occupies one bench spot, and they trust Schneemann to do it all. And I think there's a good case that he just sticks around the entire year because he plays all the spots. So, and that's really all I was thinking about. I mean, do I want to go with a guy that we haven't seen yet in the major leagues? I mean, yes, you might be able to get some value there, but I just thought, given how good I feel about the rest of the team, Schneemann is the one that could just stick around. All the parts move around him, but he stays because he's the glue of the bench. Because they trust him everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, Angel Martinez could fill that role, but that's it. Those are the two guys. I mean, Freeman was, when Freeman got moved, I think that Schneemann now, his importance is certainly increased here.
Well, if
it's
going
to be interesting. I'm
if they
curious.
call up Martinez, it's because probably somebody got hurt and they want him to play more regularly somewhere. But Schneemann just sticks around as the guy they don't care isn't getting the at-bats, that he can waste away on the bench. It's not a big deal. But there are other guys that, like Angel, that are at least someone that they still care about their future. God, that feels awful to say that about Daniel. I'm sorry.
Oh, he's older. He's got a kid now. And he understands. And you're not going to expect him, he doesn't have to hit 280 to keep his job, right? Because he's not going to be playing every day. It's more so just show us you can hit a fastball from a right-hander, and we can trust you to play third base when Jose Ramirez needs to DH. Dude, again, your team looks better than mine. I wish I had your team, but I also have felt that way in past years, and I've never lost. So not worried about it.
Not worried about it, he says. We'll see. There have been times where I've been handed my flowers at the end of the draft. People say, oh, TJ clearly has the better team, and then I don't. So
it's going to happen again.
That's why they play the game. Let's run it down. Here are our 13 picks. I have Jose Ramirez, Tanner Bybee, Lane Thomas, Brian Rocchio, Cade Smith, Kyle Manzardo, Carlos Santana, Logan Allen, Tim Herron, Joey Cantillo, Jacob Junis, Jean-Kency Noel, Daniel Schneemann.
And I have Stephen Kwan, Bo Naylor, Gavin Williams, Nolan Jones, Emmanuel Clase, Luis Ortiz, Shane Bieber, Juan Brito, Gabriel Arias, Tristan McKenzie, Angel Martinez, Ben Lively, and Hunter Gaddis. My team sucked this spring. Every one of those guys except maybe Stephen Kwan had such a lousy spring or was injured or is starting the year in AAA. Let's just not pay attention to these standings until at least August, please.
Oh, see, I don't want to gloat. Even though as much as I love my team, I don't want to gloat because it's a bad idea. I don't want to put that out into the universe.
They held the second base competition. They held a second base competition with all these guys, and nobody won it. Gabriel Arias wins by default because he's out of options, and I took all of those guys.
What were you thinking? And then you left Noel completely off the list? What? Have you ever done this before?
I think I crossed him off. I think I accidentally crossed him off when I took Nolan Jones for some reason. I don't know.
If you could go back in time.
I took a guy who wasn't here a few days ago. I took a guy who's out for half the season and is coming off Tommy John, was one of my first picks. I took the closer who just blew the season in October. I took the starter they acquired who had like a 12 ERA this spring. I took the guy who couldn't beat out Logan Allen in the rotation.
You took all the guys that I was like, please take him. Please take him. Zach, please take him. I don't want to take him. Even if it was the smart choice.
Did I do it on purpose?
Did you do it on purpose?
Did I try to build the worst team? Just to prove that even with two hands tied behind my back, I can still beat you?
And giving away the top pick? I don't like when your face does that. Well, this will be a fun year. I can't wait for this year. Not only just watching the baseball team, but also the fun that we have ahead. We were texting about this yesterday. You sent me a message. You have no feel for the wide range of outcomes. We say this every year about this team, but surely it applies again for the 17th consecutive year. I don't know where this Cleveland team lands.
I think I said it when we were talking about expectations. Maybe it was during our March Madness bracket episode, which go back and listen to that if you haven't yet from a couple weeks ago. That it's easy to get caught up in power rankings this time of year. And like the Athletic, we had him 21st. Someone else had him 15th. Someone else had him 19th. Doesn't matter. Do you think the public, do you think national people pay any attention to like what Gavin Williams did this spring or to why Bo Naylor should be better offensively than he was last year or why Brian Rocchio should be better than he was last year? Not all these young guys with room to grow are going to grow this season. But I do think there's a ton of upside here. I mean, think about the draft we just did. Like, there's a lot of guys who are like in their third year in the majors. They're like 26 years old, and that light bulb goes off, right? Like, why did everybody miss on the Royals last season? You know, it wasn't just because they like Lugo and Waka, the veterans they signed, panned out. That was great. They increased their win total by like 30 games. Cole Reagans was awesome for them for 2 months in 2023. And I don't think people properly assessed what 6 months of Cole Reagans would look like. That's a huge difference. And Bobby Witt Jr. going from a really nice player to top 3 player in the sport. Like when we make predictions and when we rank and when we gauge which teams fall where, we don't think about, and we think in terms of like linear, we don't think about these jumps and these regressions that players can make. And I just feel like there's a lot to miss with this team. So as I told you, TJ, like there are some days when I wake up and I'm like, I just don't see it. This team's going to win 75 games. I think 4th place in the division. And while I think the future's bright, I think the lineup in a couple of years is going to be awesome. Like this isn't the year. And there are some days when I'm like, legitimately, this team should win the division, win 90 games. And in the American League this year, you make the playoffs, you've got a legitimate shot. I mean, there is no... Who's the best team in the American League? Try to answer that. Good luck. Could be Boston. Could be Seattle. Could be Texas. Could be Houston. Could be New York. Could be Baltimore. Toronto and Tampa think that they're going to make the playoffs. 4 teams in the Central think that they're going to make the playoffs. It could be the team who wins the Central. Like, it's such an even playing field in the American League this year. So there are some days where I'm like, the Guardians just... But, like, look at all the names we just went through and how many of those guys, many of them are going to fail. But would it be crazy if Brian Rocchio had a good season? Would it be crazy if Lane Thomas put it all together? Would it be crazy if Gavin Williams put it all together? Would it be crazy if Kyle Manzardo blossomed? Would it be crazy if Nolan Jones and Jhonkensy Noel was a functional right field platoon? Would it be crazy if like one of the pitchers, whether it's Joey Cantillo or Logan Allen or Luis Ortiz or Tristan McKenzie, puts it together? I mean, like there's Bo Naylor. Like there are so many young players who can take steps forward. They don't have to hit on all of them. So that's why I think they're the toughest team to project. But it's also why I lean more toward the positive, I think, than the negative. Because you can't just look at last season and say, I'll say it, like Keith Law in his projections for The Athletic today has the Guardians 4th and said last season was fluky. And while I agree, like we kept asking, how are they doing this? Ben Lively and Carlos Carrasco ranked 2nd and 3rd on the team in innings and starts. So if you think it's fluky because it doesn't make sense to you, that's one thing. But they were in first place every day except 6 during the season. They were one of the top seeds every single day of the year. It was them and the Yankees and the Orioles for most of the season jockeying for the first seed. So you can't just look at last season and say, well, they did this with this, so that means if these guys do this, like that'll equate to this. The math does not compute. I think you just have to look at this season for this season and say, we thought we knew a lot last year. Turned out we knew nothing. Can we learn from that? Like, look at this season for this season. There's there's some good core talent here, and then there's a lot of guys who could swing one direction or the other. We've seen most of them swing the other direction last year. I think you have to assume at least some of them are going to be better, and maybe that equates to 88 wins. Maybe it's 86. Maybe it's 93. I have no idea. Maybe it is 75, but I tend to believe enough of them will take steps forward that this team's going to be okay.
Let's talk about the plan ahead for us. First of all, if you're looking for a great place to talk with fellow fans and listeners of the show, get to the Discord. You do that by joining the Patreon, patreon.com/SelbyIsGodcast. We, of course, do additional shows throughout the week. That's where you find them over at Patreon, in addition to just being here at YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you catch your podcasts. There was some confusion in the Discord. There is a higher tier on Patreon. That's just where we offer the ad-free episodes for all the episodes. There have been some that have said, hey, we want to contribute more to the show, which no one is under any obligation to do. But if you want to, we want to offer some value, so that's where we offered all shows ad-free, like the ones you catch here at YouTube, Spotify, and everywhere else. You can get all of them in one place at Patreon. If you join the Patreon, you get access to the Discord, which is a fun place to watch the games with everyone else that's watching the games. And it's a zany place, and we converse. We have a lot of fun in there. So come join us there. We are planning to do a live stream after opening day. So we'll be back here at YouTube to do a live stream. So just follow us now, subscribe to the podcast, and you'll get a notification, hopefully, when we do that. And then we'll be back on Friday, to get all the days correct now. We'll be back on Friday to talk about opening day, just overall, and just the outlook of the season with our Patreon crowd. So again, patreon.com/SelbyIsGodcast. Are you excited, sir?
I am. The offseason is long, and it forces us to debate things that you get to opening day and you're like, I know we fought about Andres Jimenez, but who cares? That's in the past. Let's get on with it. And it's I've got a piece coming on The Athletic on Thursday morning, and it's Austin Hedges basically getting you fired up for the season, and you'll want to run through a brick wall. But I think, I think the main message, kind of like what I was just saying, is you truly never know where the journey's going to take you and what it's going to bring, during the ride. I would say it's the heartbeat of your summer. It's the constant that's always there, and it's nice to have it back.